Imagine that we are on the radio again.
Yes.
Okay. Could you tell me a little bit about the astral phenomena?
Yes. The phenomena has been described differently by different cultures, different peoples, different religions, different philosophies. But in essence, the phenomena can be simply described in terms of energies or energy bodies. People who are involved in the spiritualist movement talk about spirit guides and the different kinds of guiding forces such as masters, saints, avatars, and they also talk about loved ones. And of course, they refer to spirits who may not know where they are after they make the transition. If, on the other hand, we would be talking to people who would be trained in the Jungian philosophy of psychology or in the Edgar Cayce techniques, they would refer to tuning into the collective unconscious. And whereas the spiritualists would be talking about individuated spirit guides, the Jungians would say that within the collective unconscious, which is like the Akashic, the universal cosmos, there is a personal unconscious. And within the personal unconscious, one is able to make contact with different essences of energy. If we were talking to Kabbalistic Jews, they would be talking about a cosmic energy which has descended and projected into the world, and that the last projection that we know on the earth as far as physical bodies would be the physical body. And that in a sense is very much like the yogic philosophy, which talks about an essence, and from the essence there are different projections of consciousness. Um, if we were talking to people who would be trained in the Seth material, Seth is a guide, a spirit who speaks through a medium known as Jane Roberts and is very popular in the West. Seth as the spirit guide refers to what Jung is calling the collective unconscious. Seth talks about aspects of personality. What I'm really saying then is that the phenomena, first of all, has been described differently by many different groups. There are people who even talk about walk-ins. That's kind of a new phenomena, really not new when we're thinking about just terms being new, but people who refer to the phenomena called walk-ins for them it means this, that when a person is on the earth, the person may have a traumatic experience, and while that person is having the traumatic experience, that soul, which is the individuated spirit, would leave the body, and then another soul that wants to come through would come in and begin to inhabit that body. Mystical Christians may refer to that as a born-again experience. Yogis may refer to that as having a cosmic consciousness experience. Spiritualists may refer to that as becoming aware that life is eternal. Actually, what I'm really saying is that in this whole New Age field, which is not really New Age at all, it's really returning to the tradition, returning to the basic teachings. Oh, and I want to backtrack a little bit and say, if we were dealing with Native American Indians or Native peoples, they would talk about communicating with ancestors and communicating with different kinds of spirits. The terminology that many of the native peoples use is not too unlike the terminology that is used by many of the spiritualists. What I'm really saying, Madan Mohan, is that terminology and semantics has gotten us into a real problem now, because some people are saying that only if you communicate with a certain kind of spirit are you communicating with a high-level being. So we're really talking, first of all, about a problem of terminology. I can feel comfortable in any of these groups, with any of these groups, because what I've done really is make a study of the terms, and I know if I'm working with a group of Jungian people, I will use their terms. If I'm talking to people who are born-again Christians, I'll use their terms. People trained in the Jewish faith, I'll use their terms. People trained in the yogic faith, I'll use their terms. But the actual phenomena is becoming aware of an essence within ourselves, becoming aware of what is really the spirit, the eternal, immortal part of us. And as we are in the process of becoming aware of that, we inevitably become aware of different realms of energy, different frequency vibrations. Just as red has a particular kind of frequency vibration, so when a person dies, the spirit also has a particular kind of vibration. The phenomena itself has been studied, of course, in the laboratory, has been a part of, from my perspective, a part of all creative people's works. Um, and the phenomena itself uh, is an exciting aspect of life for me. It's an exciting aspect of life for me because I have the inner conviction that once someone has even the flash, a glimpse of knowing that life goes on after death, or that there is this essence, or that the spirit within us is the eternal immortal being, then we cannot hate or kill or hurt people because of different religions, ideologies, different ways of living and being and thinking. If we know that there is personal responsibility, if we know that we are an eternal spirit encased in a physical body, and that we have a powerful mind with which we can create, if we know that every thought, action, deed in which we have been involved is going to flash in front of us before we make the transition, and we will be faced with that after we make the transition, we cannot hate, we cannot hurt. On the other hand, if we know when we are in that state, we can become more in tune with nature. I like to take the awe and wonder out of this phenomena. I do not believe that there is anything called extrasensory perception. I believe that it is only extended sense perception. There is nothing that can function anywhere, here, in this world, in the next world, in the worlds before, that is not in touch with, that is not a part of, that is not in tune with natural law. And so really, there is an infinite universal intelligence, which some people have called God. This infinite universal intelligence is the expression of natural law. And if we live in accordance with natural law, with this phenomena, then the realization of past life, present life, future life, all becomes a part of understanding the whole process of life. For me, there is only one religion, and it's a religion of love. I do not understand what it means to be a Christian or a Jew or a Muslim or a Sikh or a Hindu or anything. I don't understand that. Actually, Hinduism is not a religion anyways, it's a philosophy. I understand that there is only this essence. I do want to say also that I'm absolutely convinced, and that's a very important part of this phenomena, that there is no such thing as death. Death is like making the transition to another plane of consciousness. And that, of course, communication with the worlds beyond takes place. And that, of course, there is eternal progress which is open to every human being. There's no such thing as heaven, and there's no such thing as hell. And those are all fallacies.
Okay, Marlene, what about on the other planes, I mean, in those planes beyond the physical death? Is there evolution
Yes.
there, or just, I mean, how is life
When
like
a
over
person makes the transition, he or she, of course, there is no such thing as a he or she in the next world. The spirit is androgynous, neither male nor female. But the spirit, the essence, finds itself in the exact same position, situation, evolutionary state that it was in when it was on the earth plane. That's why, like, people who die tragic deaths often need to be prayed for. People who are war victims, sometimes even hundreds of years later, these souls still do not know where they are. So in the spirit world, really it's like the astral world. When they first die, they go into the astral world, the etheric world. And in that world, there are like spirit hospitals where these people are taken, and there are special spiritual guiding forces who are there to help them. So it's just like this world. The world right after this is just like this world. People have the fallacy to think that after they die, they're either going to go to heaven and see the angels and hear the harps, or they're going to go to hell and burn in a fire. In reality, it's exactly like this, except without the body. And really what it feels like is when we're in a dream and we're trying to wake up. Many of these souls do not know where they are, and they're surprised after they die to find that they're still moving. And so they may feel like they're in a dream kind of trying to wake up, but they are awakened and they don't understand that. So there is evolutionary progress that goes on after the person makes the transition. Very often souls are taken to a place of rest and they sleep, but in the spirit world there are spirit houses, there are spirit flowers, there are spirit trees, there are spirit animals, everything is, it's exactly like this, except the energy hasn't projected down to this dense physical body. It's just more subtle than this body. After a while, of course, they then go to another plane of consciousness. At a certain level of awareness, they then may decide to come back to the earth plane. It is impossible to really understand the whole purpose of life without dealing with the subject of karma and reincarnation, as you very well know.
But okay, if you're living in these planes, it means that, as you said before, you are evolving and you are learning, but when you come down, let's say, to this wavelength, which is the physical body, why is it that, I suppose anyway, that you are more or less at the same stage that you were when you left your previous physical body?
Well, that depends when you say you're more or less the same stage. That not necessarily when you left your physical body. When you left your physical body, you would go into the spirit world and you would continue to evolve. And then at a certain point, there are certain expressions that we can only gain when we have a physical body. So let's say there's a very highly evolved soul. Like let's say someone like the Buddha, someone like Jesus Christ. They also took on a physical body. So they took on a physical body, but they were realized beings. And they were in this physical body as realized beings. But in order for that to happen, they had to have been realized in the spirit world before they were able to come to this earth as a realized being. So say someone who's a murderer and murders someone and makes people really suffer and goes into the spirit world and may be there for hundreds of years, or maybe in some cases may reincarnate very quickly, that person will not be able to have the same kind of experience on the earth, say, that Jesus Christ had. But you know, sometimes you find children who have a terrifying experience, say when they go near fire, or children who are terrified of guns, and it may mean that very close in their consciousness they remember being shot, or people who are very sound sensitive to certain kinds even of music, certain kinds of tunes. It may be memories that they have brought back with them from the earth world and that they carried with them the whole time they were in the spirit world. See, nothing that has ever happened to any of us can ever be lost or destroyed. It is somewhere in the Akashic. And depending upon how much of that wavelength we tune into, and depending upon which wavelength we tune into, ultimately, potentially, we are able to tune into every single thing that has ever happened since the essence of time. Also, there is no new information that exists anywhere, because everything is part of the universe. Everything is just a projection of energy, and it's different kinds of energy frequencies.
For instance, it's relatively easy just to remember the past, but okay, because everything is stored in the subconscious mind from thousands and thousands of lives or whatever. But how is it possible just to know the future?
Oh, that's a very interesting, in a sense, there is no past and there is no future. There is only the essence. And what we look upon as the future is just looking into another realm of consciousness, which is really at a different projection, at a different frequency of energy. Now, for instance, if something is in the etheric or astral level, it really is already here. And so the medium, the psychic, the intuitive is seeing something that is really here, but has not yet projected down into the physical world. Really, there is no future. Everything is a matter of tuning into different frequencies of energy. It looks to some people like it's a future, because maybe they're able to see something a year, 10 years, 15 years, 50 years, 2,000 years, or hundreds or thousands of years, like cases of like maybe people like Nostradamus or Gopi Krishna who talks about what is going to happen. But really, that's not future, because that has already happened. It's just in a different realm of consciousness. So to people who do not understand the development of consciousness, people do not understand, I should say, the realization of consciousness, they look upon that as a future. But really there is no future.
So I mean by that, that there is the subtlety of the energy actually is happening another level where some people can reach it and then project it in the physical.
Well, they reach it, and eventually that energy is projected.
Slowly into what we call future.
That's correct. Now, the reason spiritual healing works, you're interested in Kirlian photography where you can actually see the energy bodies. The reason spiritual healing works, the reason prayer works, the reason visualization works, is because we are able to, by altering the state of consciousness, make contact with that more subtle body of energy. And at that level, we are able to keep that subtle energy from coming down. Like, for instance, if someone is able to see an illness in the etheric body, by visualizing the person going into his or her state and coming in touch with that energy field, which may have some different properties in it from the parts of the energy field which are in total wholeness, can be worked with so that that frequency does not have to be projected onto the earth plane. I didn't explain that so carefully. For instance, let us say, see, there's a certain amount that we cannot look upon as being fatalistic. We do it with our minds. We are a spirit encased in a physical body, but with our mind we can create certain things. So our mind, if we are in that state and we can visualize, we can be who we really are. And that's really what I'm saying, is that if we can go into that state, and we use the mind to go into that altered state, then we can start realizing that we are that spirit. Once we start realizing that we are that spirit, there is what Sri Aurobindo calls the descent and the ascent happening at the same time. The Kabbalistic Jews talk about that as well. So as a particular energy frequency is being projected, there is also the realization of the spirit, which is also being projected outwardly. Okay? So, but there are some people, for instance, in that state who would say there is a spirit guide who is doing the healing. Sure. In that energy frequency, there are projections which may be called spirit guides.
And you just connect with one of these spirit guides in a way or another, are they not in those, let's say, astral planes being bound through the identification to those powers that they may have, and at the same time be identifying with those powers that they are giving, let's say, to somebody else down here?
That may be their karmic realization at that point. They cannot be held, they really aren't held there against their will. So they, when they have died, say a person who worked in this field on the earth, when they die, they may be so excited about trying to tell people about this, they may decide to stay in that particular state of awareness. And then at another time, they may go on to another plane of consciousness. The more evolved the person is, the person's mind is, the more the spirit realizes its essence, the easier it is for the spirit to move up and down. Really to move down from the higher, most subtle planes of consciousness down to the physical plane. It's the the spirit beings who may not know where they are, like lost souls, who cannot move up because they don't know where they are, but a being, say, like Christ or Lord Buddha, these realized beings would be able to move up and down even today. So Christ as a realized being could still actually be seen by people on the earth as a materialization, as really is a story of, when he rose after the grave. Really what happened was he materialized his body, so he projected his body, his essence, so that it could be seen on the physical plane. I think you know enough. I want to say hi to Gowrie and hi to Poverty. And I was really looking forward to seeing you. I was really looking forward to seeing you. And I hope I'll see you sometime soon again. And thank you for that wonderful soap. It's really my favorite. And whoever sent me those pictures, thank you for the pictures. And come visit me here. Okay, now next.
Marylin, I just had a question. Sometimes I've gone to see psychics and they've told me that things are going to happen and they haven't happened. Is that because they're using their projection?
No,
or that I'm projecting a wish or what?
Because they are mediums and psychics and intuitives read not only what is in the etheric, but also our hopes, our wishes, and our anxieties.
Right.
And so you may leave and have a very accurate message, like, this is what is happening, this is what is going to happen, and the person may have picked up your hopes, wishes, and anxieties. The other thing that may happen is...
So you have to learn to distinguish as a psychic.
As a psychic, you have to learn to distinguish, but also, unconsciously, we are perfect. So when we are really open and aware of what life is all about, when a psychic tells us something which our higher self knows should not happen, our spiritual guiding forces, our spiritual essence begins to do something within us not to allow it to happen.
Right. The other question I have is, I think you've answered it already in a way, but a lot of what we're learning is to live in the present. And going to psychics, you're told things about the future.
It depends on what kind of psychic you go to.
Right. But some of them will tell you what's going to happen, and I wonder if one shouldn't just work out one's own karma without
definitely.
trying to work towards what one's been told.
Personally, it is my belief that a psychic should not say what is going to happen. A reading that is accurate gives information that is verifiable, and a psychic reading should be considered, from my perspective, in much the same way as spiritual counseling or any kind of counseling. One of the first things we're taught in counseling is you do not tell a person what to do, but you say that these are the paths that are open to you. It becomes up to you to choose.
Right.
So that the psychic may say, well, look, these are your questions. And the psychic may very easily see you have 3 questions over your head. You want to know this, 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 and this. If you take this path, it looks like these are the things that are happening. If you take this, it looks like these are the things that are happening. But ultimately, it is you, the person, who must make the decision.
Because what worries me is that one can so easily become, the ego can so easily become identified with what one's told, so it becomes another ego.
But for sure it can. But there are safeguards and everything, and I think that the greatest safeguard is our own highest self, our inner consciousness. Sure. Om Namah Shivaya. And hello to all the other friends there. And I don't remember all your names, but I remember all the wonderful kindnesses that you all offered to me. And I'm still looking forward to seeing you. Bye for now.